There is a bridge in Osaka that you may walk to and no further. It crosses the second of 3 moats. At the end of it stands a wooden gate and a stone marker. Beyond the gate, the trees begin. Nobody goes into the trees. What is under them is not a forest. It is a tomb. From the ground it reads as a wooded hill. From the air it is a keyhole, cut into the earth and ringed by water. It is 486 meters long. Its footprint is larger than the Great Pyramid. It took about 20 years to raise. It went up in the middle of the 5th century. The men who built it left no writing at all. The marker at the gate names the man inside. It says Nintoku, the 16th Emperor of Japan. Nobody has tested that. Nobody is permitted to. The Imperial Household Agency governs this mound and 41 others. Archaeologists have been asking to go in since 1976. For 32 years, the answer was no. There are reasons for that, and some are good ones. These are graves. The imperial family still performs rites at them. Opening a tomb is not reading it. It is taking it apart. But there is a problem with the name on the marker. Of the 42 tombs the agency assigns to this era, specialists accept 2. The last time the government changed one of its own designations was 1881. By the end of this, you will know where those names came from and what they were for, and you will know why opening the tomb might not tell anyone who is inside it. Stand at the outer moat and you see a hill. Pine and cedar grown in thick, dark water in front of it. From down here, there is no shape to read. It is trees, and then more trees. From above, it is a keyhole, a round mound joined to a broad square front, cut clean into the plain. 3 moats ring it. The mound alone runs 486 meters. With the water, 840. It covers 460,000 square meters. That is nearly 9 times the base of the Great Pyramid. Raising it moved 1.4 million cubic meters of earth. 7 million days of labor went into it. 14,000 tons of stone were hauled in to hold the terraces. 15,000 clay cylinders were set along the ridges. They are called haniwa. About a meter tall, fired orange, hollow, plain. They were pressed into the slopes to stop the earth washing off. They are the only thing these builders left that anyone can hold. Sakai has grown right up to the edge of it. Houses back onto the outer moat. Traffic runs past the gate all day. Tens of thousands of people live within a kilometer of the largest tomb on earth. Almost none of them have been closer to it than you are now. A wooden torii stands at the water, and behind it a stone marker. The marker gives a name. So do the maps and the school atlases. Nobody has ever checked it. Nobody is allowed to. In 712, a court official named Yasumaro finishes a book. He has been ordered to set down what the court remembers, not what happened, what is remembered. He hands it to the empress, and it is called the Kojiki. 8 years later comes a second, the Nihon Shoki. Together, they are the oldest histories Japan has. They list the emperors in order, back into legend. They say where those emperors were buried, and they are written 3 centuries after the mounds went up. The 16th name on the list is Nintoku. The chronicles make him the model of a good ruler. He remits taxes for 3 years so his people can recover. He lets the roof of his own palace leak. When he dies, the texts say, he is buried on the Mozu Plain in Kawachi. That is a real place. It is the plain at Sakai, and it is covered in mounds. 89 of them still stand across the Mozu and Furuichi groups. The largest of them all sits exactly where the chronicles put the greatest of the emperors. It fits, so the mound takes the name. Officially, it becomes the Mozu Mimihara Mausoleum of Emperor Nintoku. The mounds around it go to his consorts, his sons, his ministers. The geography agrees with the text. The text agrees with the geography. For over a century, that has been enough. It is on the marker at the bridge. It is in every atlas in the country. Ask a Japanese schoolchild who is buried there, and you will get an answer without a pause. But nobody put that name on the plain in the 8th century. Somebody put it there much later. It is 1808. A scholar named Gammo Kunpei is walking the countryside with old texts under his arm. He is looking for the graves of emperors. He cannot find them. Nobody can. The mounds have stood out there for 14 centuries with nothing written on them. Farmers have terraced them and cut into them for soil. Trees have taken the rest. In most villages, there is no name left for the hill at all. Whatever the 8th century knew, the 19th has lost. 60 years later, that changes. The Meiji Restoration arrives in 1868. A new state puts the emperor back at the center of the country. It needs the imperial line to look old, visible, and unbroken. A genealogy on paper is an argument. A line of tombs across the landscape is a fact. So officials go out into the provinces and hand out the names. They excavate nothing. They examine not one object from inside a mound. They work from 8th century chronicles, rough compass bearings, and whatever the local people say. Every legendary sovereign in the texts is given a hill. Then in 1872, weather does what no one is permitted to do. Wind and rain bring down the slope at the front of Daisen. A stone chamber opens in the gap. Inside it is a long stone coffin. Officials from Sakai prefecture climb in, the governor among them. They record a sword, armor, and vessels of glass. A man named Kashiwagi draws all of it. The sources disagree about who exactly he was, a master builder and collector, or an official of the Mausolea Bureau. What they do not disagree about is what happened next. He finished his drawings, and the hole was filled back in. 9 years later, the map closes for good. In 1881, the designations are fixed in law. That is the last time the Japanese government has ever altered one. Not once in the 20th century. Not once since. So the names on those markers are not ancient facts carried down the centuries. They are 19th century paperwork, written to make a bloodline look continuous. And nobody had ever checked how much of that paperwork was right. Koichi Mori is a professor at Doshisha University in Kyoto. Tombs are his subject. At some point, he does the thing no government office has done. He takes the official list of imperial tombs and sets it against the archaeology. 42 of them belong to emperors of this early era. Specialists accept 2. Not 2/3, 2. And the other 40 are not disproved. They are unverified. That is a different thing, and a more awkward one. The first of the 2 is Yamashina no Misasagi in Kyoto, the tomb of Tenji. 7th century records put him there, and the archaeology agrees. The second is an octagonal mound in Nara holding Tenmu and the Empress Jito. Both of those are late. Both come from a time when people had started writing things down. The 40 that fail are all earlier. Take Daisen itself. The chronicles put Nintoku's death somewhere around 399. Objects recovered from the outer dike date the mound to the middle or later 5th century. The tomb was raised decades after the man is supposed to have died. Hashihaka at Sakurai is assigned to a princess out of legend. Scholars do not take that seriously for a moment. What they argue about is whether it holds Himiko instead. Himiko is the first ruler in this country anyone can name. She is named in a Chinese record, not a Japanese one. If she is under Hashihaka, that hill is where Japan starts. Gosashi is given to an empress most historians think never lived. Others are dated centuries away from the person on the marker. None of this is hidden. It has been in print for decades, so the argument is narrower than people assume and harder. Nobody is saying the tombs are empty. Somebody is buried under Daisen. Somebody enormous and powerful and 5th century. Nothing above ground tells you his name. There is an obvious way to settle it. Open one. Date the chamber. Record what is in it. Publish. That is exactly what archaeologists have been asking to do since 1976. The refusal is older than anyone still asking. Archaeologists begin formally requesting entry in 1976. The answer is no, and it stays no for 32 years. Then, on the 22nd of February 2008, 16 scholars walk through the outer gate at Gosashi. It is the first time researchers from outside the agency have been let in. The Imperial Household Agency's reasoning deserves hearing properly. It administers roughly 900 imperial graves and ritual sites across Japan, of which the 42 are a small part. In its view, these are not monuments. They are graves, and the family is still here. The reigning house performs rites at them. Excavation, the agency says, is not reading a tomb, it is taking one apart. A burial chamber cannot be put back. Very few families anywhere would agree to have strangers dig up their grandparents. That argument does not require anybody to be hiding anything. Pressure builds regardless. In 2006, the Japanese Archaeological Association adopts a formal code of ethics, and negotiations reopen. The Gosashi visit that follows lasts 2.5 hours. 16 people walk a lower terrace and look at paving stones and broken haniwa lying in the grass. They may not touch, dig, or go near a chamber. After that, it loosens, slowly. Surface access at Hashihaka in 2013. Joint survey work from around 2014. Then, in late October 2018, the agency opens 3 trenches at Daisen itself. It works alongside archaeologists from Sakai. It is the first real excavation ever run at Japan's largest tomb. The trenches go in at the outer edge, hundreds of meters from the chamber. What comes out of them is not what anyone had been waiting for. Before you move on, a word on sources. Walter Edwards, Contested Access, The Imperial Tombs in the Post-War Period, in the Journal of Japanese Studies, 2000. That is the standard account of how the prohibition works. Claire Fawcett, Nationalism and Post-War Japanese Archaeology, 1995. That one covers why the names were assigned in the first place. The claim you meet most often online is that the tombs are shut to hide Korean ancestry. Edwards calls that a red herring. The continental connections were never hidden. They are written into the 8th century chronicles themselves. And in 2001, Emperor Akihito noted that Kammu's mother descended from a king of Paekche. The real disagreement is duller and much harder. The agency holds that these are private graves in active ritual use, and that digging them is destroying them. Archaeologists hold that these mounds are the main evidence for how the Japanese state formed, and that it is being withheld. Both positions are held honestly. Neither is going to win outright, and there is a limit even to winning. These tombs were not built with epitaphs. Nothing was placed inside them that states who they are for. Whatever a trowel reaches down there, the name is not waiting at the bottom. The 3 trenches at Daisen turned up stones and broken haniwa on the outer dike. No chamber, no coffin. The island sat where it always sits, hundreds of meters off. The gate is still shut, but something did come back. In June of 2025, Sakai City made an announcement. A knife and pieces of gilded armor had surfaced in a private collection. They were still wrapped in paper from 1872. The paper carried Kashiwagi's handwriting and his seal. Not everything had been reburied after all. They are the first confirmed objects from inside Daisen Kofun. They spent 150 years in a businessman's cupboard, and they do not say one word about who was buried with them. That is the shape of the whole thing. The names on these tombs are not ancient. They are 19th century paperwork, written to make a bloodline look unbroken. The ban keeps that paperwork from ever being tested. It does not protect the emperor's identity. It protects the claim to know it. The tombs carry no epitaphs, so the name is unprovable in both directions, and always was. If it were your family buried under that hill, would you let them dig? The hill stays a hill.